Charlie Woods has lived with something almost no young golfer could ever understand. Before he even had the chance to build his own story, the world had already written one for him. Every swing was compared. Every round was judged. Every good moment was called hype, and every bad moment was treated like proof that he could never escape the shadow behind his name. But then, something changed. Not in some made-up, movie-style fantasy way. Not with fireworks and instant greatness. It happened in the kind of way golf fans respect most. Under pressure, with eyes watching, expectations rising, and no room left to hide. And when it happened, people stopped talking about Charlie Woods as just Tiger's son for a second, and started looking at him as a competitor with something real. The crazy part is, the biggest shock wasn't just the score. It was what that moment revealed about who he might actually become. And trust me, by the end of this story, you may never look at Charlie Woods the same way again. And before we go any further, if you truly love golf, if this game means something to you, and if you enjoy stories like this that remind us why golf is so special, then make sure you subscribe and become part of this golf family. Because this channel is for the people who feel every birdie, every collapse, every comeback, and every moment that makes this sport unforgettable. For a long time, Charlie Woods existed in a strange place in golf. He was one of the most famous young names in the sport, but also one of the least understood. A lot of fans saw the viral clips, the smooth swing, the similarities to Tiger, the confidence, the little flashes that made people sit up in their chairs. And of course, those father-son moments pulled people in emotionally, because watching Tiger and Charlie together felt like watching golf history stretch across generations. At the 2024 PNC Championship, Charlie even made an ace in tour-sanctioned competition as Team Woods tied the event's scoring record before losing in a playoff. That only added fuel to the belief that something special might be coming. PGA, Tour, ESPN. But here's the part nobody talks about. Viral moments are easy to celebrate. Real development is much harder to watch. Because growth in golf is slow. It's lonely. And sometimes it's brutal. Charlie wasn't walking some perfect path. He was dealing with the kind of pressure most junior golfers never have to face. When other kids hit a bad round, it stays local. When Charlie hit a bad round, it became a national conversation. That changes everything. It changes how fans judge you. It changes how media talks about you. And if you're not mentally strong, it can absolutely crush your confidence. That's why what happened next mattered so much. In 2025, Charlie Woods stepped into the Team TaylorMade Invitational. And this time it wasn't about famous last names or social media clips. This was about performance. This was about whether he could hold up in a serious elite junior field. And he didn't just play well. He broke through. He opened with 70, followed it with a 65, then closed with a 6 under 66 to win his first AJGA title at 15 under par. Along the way, he piled up 26 birdies and an eagle, and the AJGA said that birdie total set an event and invitational record among available records. That is not hype. That is production. AJGA. And this is where everything changed. Because when a player with Charlie's name finally wins an event like that, people don't just react to the trophy. They react to what it means. Suddenly, the conversation shifts. Suddenly, it's not, can he create a cool highlight? It becomes, wait, can this kid actually compete at a serious level? That is a completely different conversation. And honestly, that might be the most shocking part of all. Not that Charlie Woods played great golf for a weekend. A lot of talented players can do that. The shock was that he looked composed doing it. He looked like someone who knew what he was trying to build. He looked like someone who understood that golf doesn't care who your father is. You still have to stand over the ball, pick a target, control your nerves, and deliver. Wait till you hear what happened next. Because if this were a fake sports story, this is where everything would become easy. The big one would lead to nonstop domination. Every event after that would be bigger, brighter, cleaner. But real golf doesn't work that way. And that's exactly why Charlie's story is interesting. After the breakthrough, he still had to deal with the ups and downs that define every real golfer. He wasn't suddenly untouchable. He still had events that reminded everyone how hard this game is, especially when you're young and every round is being watched under a microscope. Even in 2026, during his title defense of the Team TaylorMade Invitational, he finished tied for 28th instead of repeating the magic. That matters because it tells us this story is not about instant superstardom. It's about learning how to respond, when the momentum slips. Golf week. And that is where true golf fans start paying attention. Because anyone can get excited when the cameras love you. But when the results wobble, when people start doubting again, when the internet begins saying maybe the hype went too far, that's when character shows up. But here's the part nobody talks about. The most important players in golf are not the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who learn how to come back from struggle without letting it change how they see themselves. That's why Charlie's 2026 U.S. Junior Amateur Qualifier felt bigger than just one scorecard. He shot 3 under 68, made birdies on 16, 17, and 18, then won a playoff to grab the final qualifying spot. That sent him to his third straight U.S. Junior Amateur appearance after previously missing the cut in his first 2 tries. If you're a golf fan, you know exactly why that grabs people. That's not noise. That's nerve. That's a player refusing to disappear when the pressure gets tight late in the round. Golf week. And think about the emotional side of that for a second. Imagine being Charlie Woods. Imagine hearing your last name every single day. Imagine carrying the history of one of the greatest players who ever lived. Imagine everybody wanting you to be a future star immediately, while other people are secretly waiting for you to fail so they can say they were right. Then imagine standing on those final holes knowing one loose swing, one bad decision, one shaky putt changes the entire conversation again. He finished strong anyway. That tells you something. Not everything, of course. Golf is too unpredictable for that. But it tells you something real. It tells you the talent is there. It tells you the resilience is growing. And maybe most importantly, it tells you Charlie Woods is beginning to create moments that belong to him. That's a huge deal. Because for years, most of the emotion around Charlie came from what he represented to Tiger fans. He reminded people of old memories, old Sundays, old dominance, old feelings. But now, slowly, he's becoming a reason for golf fans to look forward instead of backward. And this is where the story gets emotional. A lot of kids with famous parents spend their whole lives trying to prove they deserve to be in the room. In golf, that challenge is even harsher because your talent gets exposed over 4 hours, one shot at a time, in total public view. There's nowhere to hide, no teammates to cover for you, no clock to run out. It's just you and your ability to handle pressure. So when Charlie wins a serious junior event, or closes with 3 late birdies to force his way through a qualifier, it resonates. Not because it means he's guaranteed to become Tiger. No one should expect that. No one can be Tiger. That's not a fair standard. It resonates because it shows he may not need to be Tiger to matter. He may only need to be Charlie. And honestly, that's the healthiest and most exciting version of this entire story. Because if Charlie Woods builds his own game, his own pace, his own identity, then golf gets something beautiful out of all this. Not a copy, not a tribute act, not a constant comparison. Golf gets a new chapter. One shaped by pressure, yes, but also by persistence. And don't miss this part. Golf fans love authenticity more than anything. We can forgive inconsistency. We can forgive missed cuts. We can forgive rough stretches. But what we respect is honesty in the journey. We respect a player who keeps showing up. We respect a young golfer who keeps fighting through impossible expectations. We respect a breakthrough that actually had to be earned. That's why this story hits so many people. Not because Charlie Woods won the Masters. Not because he suddenly became the best young player in America. Not because every doubt disappeared overnight. It hit because, for a moment, the noise faded and the golf spoke. And when the golf speaks, fans listen. So maybe the real shock here isn't that Charlie Woods had a big moment. Maybe the real shock is that he's reached the point where those moments feel increasingly believable. Not accidental. Not manufactured. Believable. That changes the way people watch him from here. Now every event means a little more. Every round carries a little more weight. Every comeback feels a little more possible. And whether you're rooting for him, doubting him, or just watching out of pure curiosity, one thing is becoming harder to deny. Charlie Woods is no longer just a storyline attached to someone else's legacy. He's starting to become a competitor with a path of his own. And this is why stories like this matter. Because golf isn't only about trophies. It's about becoming. It's about all the invisible work between the headlines. It's about the pressure nobody sees, the setbacks nobody celebrates, and the moments where a young player finally gives the world a reason to believe. Charlie Woods still has a long road ahead. There will be more pressure, more criticism, more difficult rounds. That part is guaranteed. But there will also be chances. Chances to grow. Chances to surprise people again. Chances to turn flashes into consistency. And if he keeps doing that, then one day we may look back and realize these weren't random moments at all. They were the beginning. So what do you think? Was this the moment Charlie Woods truly started stepping out of Tiger's shadow? Or do you think the biggest test is still ahead of him? Let me know in the comments. And if you love golf stories that go deeper than the scoreboard, stay with the channel, subscribe, and be part of this journey with us.